my question to you, and let's start the debate with this question, and we've got other questions lined up, is what have you been doing about it to put pressure on the Muslim countries to start realizing what's going on in Xinjiang, in East Turkestan, in Xinjiang, with Uyghur people? Do you have a strategy how to deal with this issue when it comes to relations with the Islamic countries, particularly OIC?
Yes, this is one of the important point of the World Uyghur Congress or advocacy work. This is several reasons why Islamic country continue silence. One of the important reason, economic interest. Secondly, some Islamic country has a own problem, particularly human rights record is very bad. So that's why this country have cooperate each other, United Nations. This is one of things. However, today, as I said, Islamic value targeted by the Chinese government, because CCP, Chinese Communist Party ideology is against the religious, any religious. You know? Even today, and Chinese Christian also suffer. The Tibetan Buddhists are suffering. But Chinese CCP saying Islam is ideological illness. It was eradicated. This today BBC published a report, Al Jazeera, and even my brother also he published YouTube, used YouTube. He published his view, what he is seeing here. So I think the atrocity, this genocide, and must be known. Whole human being, all the Muslim country. I don't believe they didn't know the knowledge of this. They know very well. Because of the interest, they are signing no. And we, World Uyghur Congress, we're trying to raise this issue to Islamic country. But we don't have a good enough resource, capacity to doing this advocacy in this country. Quite a lot of Islamic countries, no Uyghur community. For example, Malaysia, no Uyghur community, no Uyghur organization. It is the one challenge for us. And only some country, Turkey and Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, very few Islamic country has Uyghur population. In Albania have only 3-4 Uyghurs. Some country, a couple of hundred, some hundred in the couple of thousand. This country's political system really didn't allow to doing some political activism on the advocacy work. Some country and the political atmosphere allowed us to do something, but we don't have a capacity or Uyghur organization, Uyghur community has this country. For example, Malaysia, Indonesia. Last 2019, we sent one delegation to Malaysia and Indonesia. World Uyghur Congress, one delegation visit 2 weeks visit in Malaysia. We had very high level meeting. My delegation meet Azizi, that time Deputy Prime Minister of Malaysia. They meet here and also meet some other political party, some high level officials, and they know the situation, and we meet. I personally met Anwar Ibrahim as well. He knows the situation very well. However, Malaysia sometimes and raises issue, and when if some media interview Malaysia government official high level and mentions Uyghur issue, but to the officially UN level. United Nations Human Rights Council, this is all the time, and this country is silent. And my delegation visit Indonesia as well. Some civil society in Indonesia, beginning of the 2018, hold a big demonstration support us. But Chinese embassy, every country, particularly Muslim country, very active. If small reaction against the Chinese government, next day, Chinese embassy immediately visits them, you know, and gives them fake information, invites them to China to visit, you know. For example, and one of the biggest civil society in Indonesia, Muhammadiyah, they are organized with some other civil society mass demonstration in 2018. After this demonstration, Chinese embassy in Indonesia immediately visited Muhammadiyah, then asks them to visit China. It invites them and gives them some wrong information, then they are silent. So it is the World Uyghur Congress, we continue trying to reach out to Islamic countries, government, and the civil society. I personally met OIC, Organized Islamic Conference, ambassador in the United Nations, in Geneva, Madame Bagli. I met personally twice and expressed all the issue. She's saying, Mr. Isa, I know. I personally sympathize for the Uyghur Muslim, but unfortunately, I couldn't do anything because I have to report all the things to my boss, to Organization Secretariat, Organization Islamic Conference. If I couldn't get any directive from them, I couldn't say anything. So far, Organization Islamic Conference never condemned for the Chinese policy towards the Uyghur. Even they made a statement support Chinese policy. We are supporting Chinese government against the terrorism. Well, there is no terrorist activity. I already told you. I have never seen real bomb with a gun in my lifetime, but I'm the top terrorist of the Chinese list still. I was suffering 21 years, was red notes by the Interpol. But I had to fight my right. Finally, 2018, my red notes was delayed. But I suffered 25. I was arrested so many country borders. I still today I cannot enter so many countries because Chinese long arm getting everywhere. You know? So that's why in the OIC, when the issue is Kashmir, when the issue is Rohingya, when the issue some of Palestine, some they are condemning. But is the issue of Uyghur Muslim, they are all the time with Chinese government together. This is it is a shame. Yeah, so we are continuing, but however, recently we have seen some forward. For example, recently Global Islamic Council, Global Imamic Council based in Baghdad, they reaching out us, we signed a memorandum. They are really understand what's going on for Turkestan, for the Uyghur Muslim, no, and that they are really closely cooperate some Islamic organization around the world. And I hope, and civil society can, in fact, to the government, soon some Islamic government also support us.
Thank you. It looks like you have been working tirelessly on putting pressure on Muslim countries in different forums internationally. Obviously, there is a lot of duplicity, and many Muslim countries oppress their own population other than economic interests. So maybe we can look at it through that prism as well. Thank you for explaining this to us. Now, can I move to Dr. Olsi? What is your take, Dr. Olsi, on the situation? There is a question directed to you because you visited the region yourself. Do you think the Chinese authorities could have orchestrated better? Because you're a critic of the human rights violations, but still you were allowed to travel and to see the situation yourself. Have you experienced any difficulties in relation to that in the aftermath?
Yes, I was attacked by the Chinese government, and the information office of Xinjiang authority. After coming out of China, they accused me of being a fake reporter, of being a liar. They told me that I had malicious intentions for visiting Xinjiang and what have you. You see, I mean, coming back to what Dolkun was saying before, and to the reason why especially the Muslim world is not reacting for the Uyghur issue. I just wanted to mention something, that there is no Muslim world. Muslim world is divided, separated, lacks democracy in many countries. We are ruled by autocrats, thieves, and dictators. Countries from Saudi Arabia to Albania, we have gross human rights violations. Here in Albania, we have Muslim believers and imams who are jailed by our autocrat Edi Rama with the backing of the US embassy. So, I mean, the suffering of Muslims is something that is not happening only in Xinjiang, but is happening in many Muslim countries. And then this myth of a Muslim world is a myth. I mean, there is no Muslim world. We can see, for example, what is happening nowadays with the issue of Palestine, of Jerusalem, how Arab countries from Bahrain to United Arab Emirates, they're joining the Israelis and they're recognizing their illegal annexation of the Arab lands. So, I mean, the Uyghur thing is a very remote thing for the Muslim and Arab world. And moreover, we don't have countries that have direct national interest on the Uyghur issue. Because, let us say, I explain this thing even to our Muslim friends here in Albania. Muslims are discriminated, but Turkey does nothing to help us. Turkish government supports our autocratic ruler, Edi Rama, who steals elections, gives him weapons and money, while the Muslim community suffers. But the behavior of Turkey is different with the Turks of Cyprus or of Azerbaijan, where they have some immediate national interest. Let's take the example of Pakistan. Pakistan speaks a lot about Kashmir, supports Kashmiris, but doesn't speak about Uyghurs. And this is again related to the national interest of Pakistanis, because they see Kashmir as the integral part of Pakistan. They do so much about it. The unfortunate thing about the Uyghurs is that, I don't know, I was talking to some other media a few days ago about the Uyghur issue, is that the Uyghur issue is like the Palestinian issue, is like the Kosovo issue, is like the Kashmiri issue. This Muslim inhabited region was colonized almost at the same time when Kosovo, when Bosnia, when Kashmir, when Palestine were taken by non-Muslim powers. The unfortunate thing about the Uyghurs is that they're too far from the heart of the Muslim world. Number two is that China is not a country. China is a superpower. It's probably 1/4 of mankind or 1/5. So there is no country that can stand up against China, apart from Russia and the United States, and who can force the Chinese to stop what they're doing. I mean, countries like, let us say, Albania, Malaysia, Bosnia, whatever, what can they do to China? Nothing. Even major Muslim countries like, let us say, Turkey or Iran or Pakistan, even they cannot do anything to China, because China is a big, big superpower. The only power that can force the Chinese to rethink their anti-Muslim policies in Xinjiang are probably the United States, who, when they speak about the Uyghurs, they speak for their own imperialist interest. Because the world has to understand even something else, that after China will finish with the Uyghurs, Chinese imperialism is going to threaten other Muslim neighbors of China. The state ideology of the Chinese Communist Party, and moreover the government of China, is a totalitarian government. They do not have the same values that we have in the West. When I visited Xinjiang and I was shocked by the treatment that they were doing to the Uyghurs, I was telling to our Chinese hosts how on earth you can treat people like this. And you know, they didn't understand us. I mean, they were surprised by the way how I was talking to them. They're telling to me, oh, we're giving them free education. But I was telling to them, look, these people, they don't need your free education, they need their freedom. And for the Chinese state, as a totalitarian state that it is, human individuals, they have no value. They perceive humans as robots, as animals that have to be milked, obey, and work. Apart, differently from us who live in Europe and in the West, who we respect human freedoms, human dignity, religious freedom, and what have we. For the Chinese, this thing made no sense. So, I mean, when we face the Uyghur issue and when we face China, we have to understand that we are facing, when it comes to the Chinese government, some people who do not think like us, who do not act like us, and who do not respect human beings like we do. China is a big problem for the mankind and not only for the Uyghurs.
Thank you, Dr. Olsi, for that insight. Can I go back to Dolkun Isa? There is a question about the students, Uyghur students who study overseas. Some of them study in Malaysia. Do they have, according to your information that you have with your Congress, any information about difficulties Uyghur population, young people facing when they want to leave to study abroad? Is that a problem as well?
This is the one major problem we are facing, and the Uyghur refugees problem. And recently, but there is some positive step we have seen. Recently, Malaysia Minister of Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, I think, he made a statement saying we will not deport Uyghur refugees to China. This is the very good news. Brought us a big hope to us. But 2016, Malaysia deported exact number I don't know, but more than 15 Uyghurs deported because of the Chinese request to China. So then they say, this is the media report at that time. Yes, some is among them, some of them students, some of them Uyghur refugees. Yeah, but quite a lot of some other neighboring country from Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Pakistan, and Cambodia, Thailand. This country deported Uyghur refugees, and some of them also escaped from China illegally to this country. Some of them Uyghur students deported. 2009, December, 22 Uyghur refugees forcibly deported to Cambodia to China. Still, we have no news on them. 2015, 109 Uyghur refugees deported from Thailand to China. 173 Uyghur refugees settled on the Turkish government accepts them. Still 54 Uyghur refugees are detained since 2014 in the Thailand detention centers. 2014, 2013, and the huge Uyghur refugees crisis was happening. Uyghurs, because of Chinese persecution, some Uyghurs, thousands of Uyghurs escaped from China to Vietnam, then Thailand, then came to Malaysia. Some of them deported to China, and most of them used the Malaysia transit country to come to Turkey. So it is Kazakhstan, neighboring Kazakhstan also deported so far at least 50 Uyghurs. So Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, some of them international organization reported tell us. So far, more than 380. It is recorded number. It is the official number, but unofficially and secretly, how many Uyghur refugees so far deported to China from different countries, we don't know. But we have the number around 400 Uyghur refugees from different countries deported to China. And now Turkey is only the country hosting for the Uyghur refugees since 2013, 2014. Now is in Turkey, couple of thousand Uyghurs children are stateless because they are born in Turkey. Chinese government, Chinese embassy don't give them the birth certificate. And according to the Turkish law, someone who born in Turkey couldn't get automatically citizenship. So that's why a couple of thousand Uyghurs children are stateless. And this couple of thousand Uyghurs are stateless because their Chinese passports valid up, but Chinese consulate, Chinese embassy in Turkey didn't give the extended this passport. Then is a not legal document, no, then also stateless. This is the major problem. Uyghur refugees problem is a major problem for us. As I said, however, Malaysian government recently made announcement saying the Malaysia government will not be deported any Uyghur refugees to China. This is the bring us more hope. It is a good, a very welcome decision.
Positive development on the part of the Malaysian government, which is very encouraging. Yes. Dr. Alsi, can I get back to you again with the question about the difference between one of the viewers is asking a question, and I think you would probably be well placed to answer it. Is it a question of religion or ethnicity alone? Perhaps it is a civil society problem, and the viewer is saying that if the Uyghurs were Buddhists, they would still be oppressed. So the issue do you think this issue should be fought on the basis of civil society, that all people should have the freedom to practice their lifestyle and culture, whatever it is? So is it, do you think, the religious, or is it ethnic? What do you think? Or is it both?
I think it is both. China, in its official declarations about the war that it has launched in Xinjiang, it declares that it is fighting three evils, which are separatism, people who want to create an independent East Turkestan, terrorism, which it claims that we have some Uyghur Muslims who are Islamic terrorists and they come and kill us, because China claims that because it has the right to kill the Uyghurs, but when Uyghurs fight back, they make them terrorists. And the third evil that the Chinese government is fighting in Xinjiang is extremism. Now, for people who are not familiar with Xinjiang, since, I don't know the year, probably 2017, maybe Dolkun can correct me on this, the autonomous Uyghur region of Xinjiang has brought the extremification regulation. This is a bylaw adopted by the province, whereby if somebody reads it, the Chinese government, the colonial Chinese government of Xinjiang has declared Islam an extremist ideology. So if you, let us say, when your father dies, you pray his janazah, you wash his body. If you have a kid and you tell to your child who is under 18 that you are Muslim, that your God is Allah, is not Xi Jinping, that your prophet is Muhammad, is not Confucius or whatever, you are immediately declared as an extremist. If you go to a shop and you want to buy halal meat, if you have a Quran and you are caught reading the Quran, according to this de-extremification regulation, you are immediately declared to be an extremist. And what happens if you are found to do any kind of practice of your religion? You are immediately taken away from your family and sent to a concentration camp where you will be forced to never pray, to curse Allah and Muhammad, to praise Xi Jinping, and for you to be allowed to go back to the society, you should speak perfect Chinese and you should hate your religion. So to the question, if the conflict in Xinjiang is ethnic or religious, I would say it is both. China perceives Islam as an extremist ideology. In their white papers, in state museums, in public documents, etc., they describe Islam as a disease. And we have to know something, that in the history of imperialism, starting from American imperialism to French colonialism in Africa and in Asia, and to the Chinese imperialism as well, Islam has always been perceived as a very powerful ideology which mobilizes people to resist against oppression. We know, for example, the history of French in Algeria. When they went to Algeria, the conflict was ethnic because they were fighting against the Algerians, but it was also religious. People who want to understand more on this, I suggest them to read Francis Fanon's book, Algeria Unveiled, where he shows the colonial policies of the French on destroying Islam and the tradition in Algeria. Because Islam is a revolutionary ideology. And when we were in Xinjiang, in Urumqi, during the lectures that we had, Chinese propagandists and officials, they made it very clear to us that they were fighting the Uyghurs, but they were telling to us that until 1990s, we had problem with Uyghur separatists. People like Dolkun Isa, who was shown to us as being a terrorist. Rabia Kader, Dolkun Isa, and even Dalai Lama, who is not a Muslim, but who leads the Tibetan resistance, they're all depicted by the Chinese government as being terrorists. But these people, apart from being ethnic separatists against China, because these people are telling to the Chinese, look, we're Tibetans, we're Uyghurs, we're Turkic, we're Kazakhs, we have our own culture, so please leave us alone. Like you had in Bosnia or Albanians in Kosovo with Serbia. We were telling to the Serbs, look, you are Serbs, we're Bosniaks, we're Albanians, we have our tradition, give us autonomy or independence or whatever. This is one aspect of the war that China is fighting, which is ethnic separatism. Dolkun Isa is not an Islamic mullah. He is not Mullah Omar. He's not Dalai Lama. He's not a religious figure. He's an ethnic figure of the Uyghur movement. But apart from that, what happened with the Uyghurs after 1990s, when China started to open to the world, we had thousands of Uyghurs immigrating out of East Turkestan, Xinjiang, and going to the Muslim countries, going to Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Gulf countries, Malaysia, etc. When these people went to the Islamic world, they started to learn about Islam. They were Islamized. I've interviewed many Uyghurs who told me, some of them were in Malaysia, told me we didn't have hijab, we didn't pray, we didn't know Quran until when we came to Malaysia. So what happened? These people were in Jahiliyyah. They were ignorant about their religion when they were in East Turkestan, because Chinese authorities do not allow the practice of Islam. And these people, when they went out, they were Islamized. And then when they came back, they came with new ideas. They started to tell to their people that since my name is Mahmoud, is Isa, is Mustafa, is Muhammad, is Mehmet, those are names that connect us to our Islamic tradition. So apart from the secular ethnic separatism that China faced, then it was faced with two other forms of threats. One was the Islamic revival, which China is now crushing it, destroying mosques, destroying graveyards, destroying tekkes, destroying old, very beautiful Islamic towns, like they're doing in Kashgar and in Aksu, where they're building new one based on a Chinese model and Buddhist model. Even the existing mosques that they allow, they destroy their minaras, they destroy their domes, because they told us this thing openly. When we were in Xinjiang, in Urumqi, we went and we visited the Islamic Institute of Xinjiang, where they had put Han Chinese as its director. And this guy, he was more Buddhist than being Muslim. And he was telling to us, look, we are destroying the domes of this mosque, we're building them as temples. We have built this mosque here, but look, we put this sign in order to teach people when they come here that before being Muslim, we were Buddhist, etc. So the conflict is ethnic and religious. And you can see, I mean, and the Chinese, as Dolkun Isa mentioned, after 9/11, and the Chinese are very good on copying. I mean, they're experts on reverse engineering and copying. They copied the Anglo-American propaganda against Islam on fighting terrorism, and they wanted to show to West that if you have iPhone and Samsung, we are producing our own Huawei version of fighting Islam here. So I mean, and the thing is, because I read a few days ago in Al Jazeera one article from one guy in Canada who wrote about Uyghurs, and he was saying, look, religion is not important, the conflict is only ethnic. No, it is not. And the Chinese say it very openly. They're fighting Islamic fundamentalism in one side, which calls for the revival of the Islamic culture among the Uyghurs, and they're fighting even their religiosity. So if you are a practicing Muslim and you say, brothers, Allah told us in Quran we have to make jihad, you are terrorist. You are immediately shot, killed, no joke with you. But if you are a very moderate Muslim, if you just say, I want to eat halal food, or I want to live a halal life, or I want to pray to Allah, you are immediately declared an extremist. And you are sent to a concentration camp, because the ideology of state officials in China is that while you have been infected by what they call the Islamic virus, they hope that after 2 or 3 years of brainwashing and hard labor, you can be rehabilitated, you can renounce your Islam and your Turkey culture, and there is a chance for you to end up as a slave factory worker somewhere in China.
Thank you, Dr. Rossi, for that. Our time is running out. Let me go back to Mr. Isa. Mr. Isa, can you tell us what are the possible options? What are the solutions for the East Turkestan or Xinjiang autonomous region? Do you have any feedback from the Chinese authorities? What is acceptable to the Chinese authorities, and what are the demands, the clear demands by the World Uyghur Congress and obviously your people within the country?
Well, after testimony, camp survivors. Now is several camp survivor in foreign country. Now is Turkey, some European country, United States. One of them camp survivor just yesterday after arriving to the United States. So, and all the camp survivors and also a media documentary like BBC, Deutsche Welle, Al Jazeera, Sky News, and New York Times report. Yesterday was another report was published, and ASPI report, and like eyes witness like Olsi. Well, this and other international NGO independent experts report, and show us, and there is no word can be described what is happening for the Uyghur people beside genocide. So it is Chinese government, this intention very clearly, it is genocide. So first, there's a countries and United States international organization should be accept, and is just what's going on in Turkestan is a genocide. It is not cultural genocide, it is a genocide, you know. And all definition is 1948 Genocide Convention, Article 2, 5 definition, all is happening in this Turkestan today. So all this is not, today is the all country, all human beings should be stand with Uyghur. All country should be set up coalitions. This is the first. Now is United States, some European country, and already implement some sanction against the Chinese government official and Chinese company. But only 1 and 2 country is just doing this and not effectively. Should be all the country and should be set up coalition. So far, United Nations Human Rights Council, some country raises issue, but so far no Secretary General of United Nations no made any single statement on this. This is atrocity. More than 3 million, or recently report saying 8 million people suffering today. Secretary General no made a statement. No any single resolution from the Human Rights Council so far. We are constantly raising this issue. It is the big issue today. And no OEC single statement. Muslim country, no Muslim country made a statement on this. So it's the only thing is, and no, there is a double standard for China. From the Western country, from the Muslim country. As we already discussed, in the issue, Palestinian issue, Kashmir issue, some other Muslim issue. OEC, at least condemning it, doing something. But the Uyghur Muslim case, then the silence, even not all the silence, support the China. So should over the double standard for this, this issue. And then, of course, World Uyghur Congress, we call the Chinese government since many years to the dialogue, peaceful way, solve this problem. But China's response all the time use, I have a power, I'm the superpower, I can go understand what I want, I don't listen to your voice. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, Chinese government little bit accountable, little bit patient for the international pressure. Because 20 years ago, 30 years ago, China was not economic power. But now China is second big economic power. So as all the countries, doesn't matter, Muslim country or some Western country, all depend on the Chinese money, Chinese economy. Because of the economic interest, that sometimes most of some European country, even Germany, so far recently a little bit, we have seen a little bit change, you know. Recently also, and continue make business with China. It is a time not business as usual. Because all the human beings have a, particularly European country, Germany, has a bad experience from the Nazi regime. Millions of people died in the concentration camps. That's why saying never again. But it's happening again. But just for the economic interests, this country is silence, mostly. They know what is going on there. So that's why, and we call Chinese government through the dialogue, solve the problem with China. No international pressure to the Chinese government. Then, oh, Uighurs Muslim. This is a small population. I can just eliminate it and all the Uyghurs, and I can do it any atrocity. Nobody care of this. This is the Chinese mentality today. So that's why all the world, and particularly and all the democratic nation, Muslim nation, should be accountable for the Chinese government, set up the coalition. This is the first thing. And we, of course, want to Congress be completely against any kind of the violation, and we don't want to the terrorism, and we are really condemning any terrorist activism, you know. But China is blamed any kind of opposition voice puts the same category terrorism, and try to use this word and correct on us. So so all the world should be stand up and set up the coalition, and without international pressure to the Chinese government, we cannot stop this genocide. This is only set up international coalition and make pressure, stop, make business. So many Western companies continue make business and use Uyghur forced labor. And today is Siemens. Today is a German company Bosch, Adidas, and the rest of some US company, some European company, all and the Japanese company continue make business China. Yeah, one side is talking about the rights of Uyghur issue to the United Nations. Other side, this company continue make business. We cannot stop Chinese the genocide. So that's why this country should be and take concrete action and stop the business with China. Then only way stops this atrocity. Particularly, I use this opportunity to Muslim country and the Muslim brother. Now we know some Muslim Islamic society already stand up and doing something, but it's not good enough. Should be civil society like some civil society have some strong impact. Some Muslim countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, at least. This Muslim society should be making pressure to the government, and it must be broken the silence. This is the only way, and making pressure to the Chinese government can stop this atrocity.
Thank you, Mr. Issa, for your insight. We are now just a couple of minutes from concluding our webinar. Thank you, Dr. Olsi, for your fascinating insights, particularly your experiences, personal experiences from your visit to Xinjiang region. Obviously, this issue needs more time for further discussions, and we hope that the Islamic Renaissance Front will dedicate more time to this topic in the future. But on behalf of the Islamic Renaissance Front and its founding director, Dr. Dato Farooq Ahmed Musa, and its director, Azrul, and the entire team, I wish to thank you both for joining us. Thank you to all the viewers who joined us from different parts of the world, Unfortunately, we couldn't answer all of their questions, but they're sending their regards to both of you, Dr. Olsi and Mr. Risa, from Aceh in Indonesia, from different parts of Indonesia, from Malaysia. So it is very encouraging to see that people are taking interest in this immensely important issue. And I am glad, Mr. Risa, that you mentioned the ASPI report. It is very significant, and I was reading it recently that a lot of Uyghur brothers and sisters were being transferred from their homes to different parts of China, and this amounts to thousands, if not tens of thousands, which, as you rightly mentioned, is also a sign that the genocide is being perpetrated against your people in East Turkestan or in Xinjiang or autonomous region. Once again, thank you to everyone. Thank you for your participation, and we hope we will be able to discuss this further in a near future, and hopefully the world will start listening. Hopefully the international community will start listening and taking what you are arguing very seriously. Muslims have a habit to blame the West for every evil that befall the Muslim world, and particularly the United States and Europe, and often rightly so, because of their inaction and duplicity on many different issues. However, it appears this time that the United States and the European Union countries and the human rights organizations, mainly in the West, are the most vocal supporters of the Uyghur people. And I think it is very disappointing that the Organization of Islamic Conference and many Muslim countries have become a hostage to the Chinese money, and that Pakistan is, obviously China is investing $50–60 billion in this CPEC, China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. Iranians have recently made a deal with China to invest a staggering $400 billion in the Iranian economy. And we noticed the amazing duplicity here on the part of the Muslim countries. They advocate the Palestinian cause, rightly so, and the cause of other Muslims around the world. However, when it comes to your people, the Uyghur people, they are very silent. So we hope that this humble contribution by the Islamic Renaissance Front will raise awareness both in Malaysia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and the Balkan region, and also in Europe and internationally, so that this issue is finally resolved and the people of Uyghur people achieve the justice and freedom that they deserve and their democratic rights. Thank you so much, and we appreciate your participation. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you.
Thank you.